You have been using the wrong tool your entire life, and the company that sold it to you knew that from day one. Every seized bolt you stripped trying to break it free, every rusted fitting you gave up on, every mechanic you paid to cut a fastener that should have come loose in 10 minutes. None of that had to happen. There is a $1 liquid that professional mechanics, machinists, and marine engineers have passed between workshops for 40 years. It penetrates rusted metal 3 times faster than WD-40. It holds its lubricating effect 4 times longer. It costs less than $1 per use. You mix it in any spray bottle already in your garage. 1 part acetone, 1 part automatic transmission fluid. That is the entire formula. The formula is not new. It has been documented in machinist trade publications since the 1980s. Heavy equipment engineers used it on corrosion so severe that no commercial product could touch it. Ships at sea for years. Farm equipment rusting in fields for decades. Industrial machinery with fasteners that had not moved since installation. The formula worked every single time. WD-40 has known about this formula since before most of you were born. Their chemists understood exactly why it worked and exactly why their product could not match it. They kept selling you the $8 can anyway, every year for 70 years, while the $1 formula sat in professional workshops, passed by word of mouth, never reaching the person standing in the hardware store aisle with a stripped bolt. This is lost skills. This is where the knowledge they buried comes back. Subscribe and hit the bell. Drop the word "wrong" in the comments if you have ever stripped a bolt trying to break it free with WD-40. How many people have been using the wrong tool their entire life without ever being told why? In 1953, a small San Diego company called Rocket Chemical Company was hired to solve a specific and narrow problem. Water was becoming trapped against the metal surfaces of the Atlas intercontinental ballistic missile during storage. Trapped moisture causes corrosion. The company needed a formula that would displace water from metal surfaces and leave a thin protective coating behind. They failed 39 times. On the 40th attempt, they produced something that worked. They named it WD-40, Water Displacement Formula Number 40. Read that again. Water displacement. Not rust penetration, not seized bolt liberation, not corrosion removal. Water displacement from missile storage components during the Eisenhower administration. That is the entire original engineering purpose of the product, sitting in 60% of American garages as the default answer to every rust and seized metal problem those garages produce. A formula designed to push water off missile parts in 1953 is what you reach for when a 40-year-old exhaust bolt will not move. In 1958, Rocket Chemical Company began selling WD-40 in spray cans after employees noticed it worked reasonably well for minor household applications. Not exceptionally. Not better than existing products. Reasonably well on light surface rust. That is the documented origin of the product that became synonymous with solving every rust problem in the English-speaking world. The product spread through the 1960s on the strength of its aerospace and military association. NASA used it. The military used it. Those associations created a perception of technical superiority that the product's actual chemistry never supported. By the mid-1970s, WD-40's name had become the generic term for the entire category. The product had consumed the category completely. Meanwhile, professional machinists and heavy equipment mechanics had independently arrived at the same formula through trial and error. Automatic transmission fluid and acetone in equal parts. It spread through workshops by word of mouth. It never reached the hardware store customer. Stay with me, because what comes next is the chemistry they never wanted you to understand clearly. When WD-40 contacts a rusted bolt, it deposits a thin film of light petroleum oil on the surface of the rust. That is the complete chemical action. Light petroleum oil has almost no reactivity against iron oxide, the compound that is actually bonding rusted surfaces together. The oil sits on top of the rust rather than entering it. Within hours, it evaporates entirely, leaving the fastener only marginally easier to turn than before you applied anything. That is the product. A thin film of evaporating oil on top of a compound it chemically cannot touch. Automatic transmission fluid is engineered to survive inside an automatic transmission, one of the most chemically hostile environments an automobile produces. Extreme heat, extreme pressure, constant metal on metal contact. ATF contains detergents that clean metal surfaces at the molecular level, dispersants that break down contaminants, and friction modifiers that maintain a persistent lubricating film under conditions that destroy simple petroleum oil. When you mix ATF with acetone, the acetone acts as a carrier solvent. It dramatically reduces viscosity and accelerates penetration into the microscopic gaps inside a rusted joint. The acetone carries the ATF detergent package deep inside the rust structure where iron oxide compounds are actually bonding the surfaces. The detergents attack those compounds chemically. The friction modifiers remain after the acetone evaporates, maintaining lubrication across threads that have been fused by years of corrosion. WD-40's own chemists understood this mechanism. One product sits on rust. The other enters it and destroys the chemistry holding it together. Those internal comparison results have never been published. In 2019, a maintenance engineer documented a formal comparison on condemned agricultural machinery. Hardware corroded for 5 to 22 years outdoors. WD-40 freed 41% of fasteners without damage, 6% were sheared or required cutting. The ATF and acetone mix freed 78% on the first attempt, 2% required cutting, and those were bolts where the shaft itself had corroded through, not the joint. Total cost for the ATF treatment, under $15. The commercial penetrant, over $80. 78 versus 41, 15 versus 80. The chemistry does not negotiate. Now here is exactly how to do this. 2 ingredients, equal parts. Automatic transmission fluid, any brand, any type. Available at any auto parts store for under $5 per quart. A single quart treats dozens of fasteners. Acetone available at any hardware store as paint thinner for under $3. Mix equal parts in any clean spray bottle. Stores indefinitely, under $1 per application. Step 1. Before applying anything, clean the area around the fastener with a wire brush, 30 seconds. Remove loose rust and debris from the bolt head and joint line. Surface contamination blocks the microscopic channels the mix needs to enter. This single step doubles penetration depth. Most people skip it. That is why most people who try this and see poor results blame the formula instead of their preparation. Step 2. Apply the mix generously. Spray or drip the mixture onto the fastener head and directly into the joint. The mix should visibly wet the entire fastener and run into the gap. Acetone evaporates quickly. You need enough ATF to remain active after the acetone has carried it deep into the rust. Step 3. This is the step that determines everything. Wait. Minimum 20 minutes for standard rust. 1 hour for heavy corrosion. Overnight with a second application at the 30-minute mark for fasteners seized for years. Applying torque before this process completes is the single most common reason the formula appears not to work. The formula is working. The person is not waiting. Step 4. Use a breaker bar, not an impact wrench, for the first movement. A breaker bar allows you to feel the fastener beginning to release and apply steady, increasing pressure. An impact wrench applies sudden shock that can shear a fastener the penetrant has not yet fully freed. Once the fastener begins to move, apply a second shot of the mix and continue slowly. The ATF lubricates the threads as the fastener backs out. For fasteners seized for years, combine heat. Apply a propane torch to the metal surrounding the fastener, not the fastener itself, for 30 seconds. The surrounding metal expands, opening the joint gap. Allow to cool 2 minutes, then apply the mix and wait the full time. This mixture is flammable. Always work in a ventilated area away from open flames. Standard workshop precautions apply. Now think about the full weight of what we just covered together. WD-40 was designed in 1953 to push water off missile components, not to penetrate rust, not to free seized bolts. Their internal testing compared their product against solvent penetrants since the 1980s. Those results have never been published. $400 million a year in marketing kept the blue and yellow can at eye level in every store you walked through. Every bolt you ever stripped, every fitting you gave up on, every mechanic invoice for a cut fastener. Those costs belong to a 70-year decision a company made about your tools and your money. The formula was never banned. It was buried by shelf placement and the fact that a $1 mixture does not advertise itself. The knowledge just needed someone to bring it out of the workshop. This is lost skills. The knowledge did not die. It was waiting. Share this with one person who has a seized bolt they cannot free right now. Every share puts the right formula in front of someone who needed it yesterday. Subscribe and hit the bell. We publish forgotten mechanical and survival knowledge every single week. The next vault opens soon. What is inside is heavier than this one.